Direct object pronouns are used in Spanish to take the place of a direct object. As we get into this, you'll see that there are similar things in English, but the concept is not exactly the same. The main reason to use a direct object pronoun in the place of a direct object is to avoid needless repetition. Direct object pronouns can also help to shorten or simplify a sentence. Like I said, we do similar things in English. For instance, if I said, I'm looking for the dog, then once I've established that I'm talking about the dog, I will probably say it instead of the dog. You wouldn't want to listen to somebody say, I'm looking for the dog. Have you seen the dog? The dog was here a while ago, and so forth. You'd get really tired of hearing the dog pretty quickly. So instead, I'm more likely to say, I'm looking for the dog. It was here before, or maybe he was here before. I haven't seen it since 2:30. It went out the back door, and so forth. I use it to replace the dog and make the sentence a little bit less repetitive and shorter. The idea is the same in Spanish, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do, we need to make sure that we are familiar with what the direct object pronouns are. So let's take a look at those. Here we can see the direct object pronouns on our chart. We usually call this a verb chart. In this case, we're not using it for verbs, but for pronouns. We have me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, and las. As usual, I've got the vosotros form kind of grayed out here because it's not as important, but if you're interested, that's what it is. Notice on the third person row, the third row on the chart here, we have two forms, a masculine form and a feminine form, and that's the case for the singular side and for the plural side of the chart. Here we have a sample sentence, Miguel tiene la pelota. If we wanted to rewrite that, replacing the direct object, la pelota, with a direct object pronoun, we would need to decide, well, first we would have had to identify the direct object. We would say, what does he have? What is being had? La pelota. Then we would say, okay, that's singular, third person, feminine. So that tells us that we're going to have to use la as our direct object pronoun. Notice that we have la in our sentence already, but that's coincidence. This la is the definite article that means the. This la is the direct object pronoun, which in this case kind of means it. Now when we write our new sentence, you need to know that the direct object pronoun actually comes in front of the conjugated verb. Our direct object was originally after the verb, but when we rewrite this with a direct object pronoun instead of a direct object, we have to put the direct object pronoun before the verb. So here we are, Miguel tiene la pelota was the original sentence, but if we wanted to shorten that, take out pelota because we already understand that that's what we're talking about, then we use the appropriate direct object pronoun la, and we put it before the verb, and we have Miguel la tiene. In English, what this would be is Miguel has the ball, or Miguel has it. Here's another sample sentence for us. Nosotros vemos el auto. We can figure out what the direct object is by asking ourselves what is being seen. Our verb here is vemos, which means we see. The answer is el auto. So that's our direct object. Again, this is singular, but in this case, it is masculine. It's third person, so we're going to use lo for our direct object pronoun. Remember that the direct object pronoun has to come before the verb. So in this case, our sentence would be nosotros lo vemos. So here are the important points about direct object pronouns. They can be used once we know what the direct object is. They are used to shorten a sentence or to avoid needless repetition. And even though the direct object itself is typically after the verb, the direct object pronoun comes in front of the conjugated verb.